Hello, this is Nate Gable, Farm Management Instructor here at Northeast Iowa Community College. Today I will be covering Unit 1 PowerPoint for AGB 466 Agriculture Finance. So hopefully you can follow along as I'm discussing these topics. We will be talking today about agribusiness finance, agribusiness producers, flow of funds in the economy, the importance of finance to agribusiness, domestic trends in agribusiness finance, and international trends. Well, let's first define what agribusiness finance is. And to do that, we need to identify and to define agribusiness and then finance. Agribusiness encompasses the activities of supplying goods and services to growers and ranchers while they provide food products to consumers. Yes, as we think about production agriculture, we think about farming, producing food for the world. We typically think about the farm or ranch and those people that take part in the producing of the food as the industry, as the agriculture industry, the food industry. But if we think a little bit further, there are many careers and businesses and suppliers and transporters and scientists in all kinds of industries that are involved in the support to the farmer or rancher in producing our food. So agribusiness is described in this way. Finance is the science of monetary affairs, or it means the supply of money for another's financial activity. In other words, when one institution or business offers money or lends money to a second business to facilitate its production activities. Obviously, a bank would be an example of a financial institution that finances or provides money for a second business to operate. Agribusiness finance then is the management of the money of an agribusiness. So this course covers the topic of agribusiness finance. Management of money that is loaned from one business to a next, and obviously then repayment, etc. Let's talk about the types of agribusiness producers. We have lifestyle farmers. Lifestyle farmers are folks that simply don't need the money to farm or to live, but they enjoy farming. They enjoy producing beef, milk, crops, whatever the case may be, and so they simply choose to be a lifestyle farmer. And I gotta admit, I'm one of these people myself. Obviously have a job off the farm, which is about 95% of my annual income provided from my off-farm job here at Northeast Iowa Community College. At the same time, I choose to participate in production agriculture. On my small farm, I produce lamb, corn, soybeans, hay. And I do that because I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun being just like a lot of you. You enjoy being outside, you enjoy working for yourself, you enjoy running machinery, you enjoy spending time with livestock. And so therefore you choose to produce in production agriculture. Maybe not necessarily as a business decision, but just simply from the standpoint of enjoyment. Subsistence farmers are those that produce food or clothing simply because they need them to live. They don't actually sell a lot of produce or and maybe no produce. They take part in production agriculture to feed their family and those directly around them. Pretty small group of people, obviously, but some groups, some people may actually be involved in this. They produce food just simply for themselves. Growing mid-sized farmers would be a typical group. This is that person, that mid-career farmer who is looking to expand the enterprise, maybe add a third enterprise to the farm, maybe adding the next generation to the farm, meaning like some of you people, a uh, or father and or mother that will be encouraging a son or daughter to return to the family farming operation. Those would be growing mid-sized farmers. A mid-sized farmer that's scaling back is someone looking near to retirement, and maybe they're actually reducing the number of acres or they're reducing the number of enterprises. This would be a good example. This would be a small to mid-sized dairy farm that simply sells the dairy cows and continues producing row crops. Industrial family farms, these are family corporations that are striving to be efficient producers, modern production um, practices, and maybe producing a multiple products from their farming operation. The mega farm is one in which, again, everyone has a different definition of what a big farm is, but a mega farm is one in that I think we could all agree a dairy farm with 10,000 cows is a big farm. So a mega farm is one that may have multiple locations, possibly hundreds of employees producing an enormous amount of product. So when we think about flow of funds in our economy, that's basically what an economy is. It's money moving from one person to the next. We think about the three categories of players in the U.S. economy. We have savers, we have borrowers, and financial institutions. Savers are exactly what they sound like. They are folks that are investing money or they're saving money. I like the word investing money even better than saving. Investors are folks that have money and they want a return on their money. If they have $1,000, they want to invest that money for let's just say a 5% return. That would mean that they would make $50 in interest every year. That'd be a 5% return on $1,000. That'd be a saver or an investor. A borrower is someone that is in need of capital to grow their business or maybe even sustain their business. So they are looking to borrow money they understand that they will be paying a percent interest to their lender, and but they hope to return an even higher percent interest so they can pay interest to their borrower and put some money back in their pocket. The financial institution is the business that connects savers and borrowers. The bank takes investment from savers, in other words, they take deposits from savers. They will pay the saver a percent interest, and then the financial institution will lend that same money to a borrower. So, for example, a bank takes deposits. It gives its depositors, say, 1% return in a savings account. Then they lend the money out to borrowers for 5%. Now there's a margin of 4% on that money. Obviously, the bank has costs in labor and management, etc. But the financial institution, again, connects savers and borrowers. The sources of funds, in other words, these savers, these would be households. They would be businesses, possibly. Households meaning individuals that have an excess of money. They have their bills paid and they want to invest money for a return. Businesses that could do the same thing. And sometimes there are government surplus, government programming, in other words. There are many government programs in farming that allow us to borrow money. Many of you or some of you may take advantage of a beginning farmer loan through the Farm Service Agency. That would be an example of a source of funds. Financial markets like intermediaries, banks, and other middlemen are those that will take deposits or investment from households, businesses, government surplus, and then loan the money to the users of funds like government deficit. When the government borrows money, it may be in the form of treasury bonds. Okay, a treasury bond is when an individual citizen can borrow or buy a treasury bond. What you are really doing is loaning money to the federal government, and in exchange, the government pays a interest expense back to the borrower. Businesses might also use funds, and so may households. So you can see that people or businesses, households can be on either end of this financial spectrum. The finance or importance of finance to agribusiness. Many farms and ranches are operated as sole proprietorships. That means they have one owner, one operator. That sole operator is responsible for the financial operation. Today, an average farmer can have well over $1 million just in operating capital. Operating capital means the money that is borrowed just simply to make it through one operating cycle. If you're a corn producer, you borrow money for seed, fertilizer, fuel, repairs to machinery, and yeah, so it doesn't take long before you could easily be borrowing up to $700-800 an acre in today's world. You farm 1,000 acres of corn, that's $800,000 right there. So most individual farmers do not have that type of capital available to them in their own savings, so they're going to go ahead and borrow from a bank or other lending institution. So the trends in agribusiness today here in the United States, I think we all know that farms are becoming larger. So more use of capital. Farmers are borrowing more money. They're bigger, they need more money. Farmers are becoming more specialized with high-tech machinery. Yes, we've all heard stories of our grandparents that had a few pigs, a few sheep, a few beef cattle, dairy cattle, some hay, some corn, maybe some soybeans, pasture. Today's farmers are becoming more specialized. Instead of having many, many different enterprises, maybe focusing on one, two, and being extremely efficient, extremely proficient in those enterprises. Farm cooperatives produce a large percentage of America's food. So if you think about your local farmers co-op, if you think about your dairy cooperative, they are considered producers, even though there's many, many, many farmers that own that cooperative. Their produce goes through the cooperative before it goes to the consumer. If we look in the worldwide face of agriculture, we know that globalization has taken place. We are producing more crops around the world, and we are trying to access new consumers around the world. There's new technology for producers making its way around the world. Industrialized nations are rapidly developing that technology. Farmers in under um, in unindustrialized nations are gaining access to some of our technology. In emerging countries, even if they're not producing food, they are starting to produce other types of products, which means that they now have the money to buy our food. So the world is becoming, all countries, or a lot of the countries around the world, are becoming a major player, maybe not only in producing food, but certainly in consuming of food products grown around the world. So, in review, we talked about agribusiness finance, we talked about agribusiness producers, we talked about flow of funds in the economy, the importance of finance to agribusiness, domestic trends in agribusiness finance, and international trends. Hope you enjoyed this. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to give me a call or drop me an email or drop by my office. Thanks a lot for paying attention today, and have a good day.